You took under outfit from 50K per week to 1 million per week in a
Yeah,
matter of like 12 months. How the hell did you do that?
I would say 20x growth in less than 20 months is a fair way of putting it. Yeah.
Which is a lot. So
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I think like if the idea is like, well, what is the secret sauce to do it? Like, I don't know that there's a one single best thing that made it happen. But I will say, like, if I had to focus on three primary things. The first one was focusing on what made the business work. I think most people try like, oh, I can make money here, I can make money here, I can make money here. And they look back and like, oh, I'm making a nickel on a dollar here, I'm making a dime here, I'm making a quarter over there, but I'm making money everywhere. I should just keep doing it. But really, like, if you can make a quarter or you can make a nickel, every time you make a nickel, it costs you 20 cents. Not only that, but like in Facebook, where it's a machine learning environment, where the machine is learning how to do a job. If you focus all of that effort on doing one job really well, it's going to get better and better at it. Just like, if you're a barista and you're making lattes and mocha and frappes or whatever, and then someone's like, oh, also now you have to make sandwiches. Like, you're not going to be good at both, right? And so my point to that is find out what you can do best, find out what's best for your business, and then ultimately make the machine focus on learning how to do that job as best as you can. So really the first step of that was figuring out what was the best offer for the business model. It wasn't the highest AOV. It wasn't the product with the best LTV right away. It wasn't the product, like, there's so many things that people say this is the product you should focus on. What we did was we took a look at it and said, this is the product I can afford to get a lot of sales on a day. So the CPA was low enough for us to get a decent volume, because every transaction is a new data point that makes you better. And this is a product where, more likely than most other products, when somebody buys this, they're going to buy again. And not only that, we have a good idea of when they're likely to buy that second time. And I think there's a very common thread of selfish myopathy, looking at the way you look at business results inside of your Facebook ad account or performance marketer, where you look at, well, what's my ROAS? How much money to make on the money I spent today? But that doesn't matter. Business isn't about day-to-day profits. Business is about future cash flow at a profit. You can't scale a brand in 30, 45, 60, 90, 120 days if you only make money once. Because if you don't know where the next money's coming from, you're going to live and die by how you did every day. You're a salesperson. You're not a business. And there's a big difference between like having a product and having a brand, right? Between being a salesperson making one transaction versus having a business where you create customer journeys. And so when we focused on, this is the item that has, for what it's worth, not the best AOV and not the cheapest to sell, but really solid. And we can get a lot of volume on it. And we know that this is more likely than other things to lead to second and third purchases. And that way we knew that what we call PSM, lifetime value divided by the sum of CPA and COGS times frequency of purchases. Like, we know if somebody buys this, we know what the future cash flow looks like. Which means when you're spending money on Facebook ads, what you're doing is you're amplifying a business model. If that business model says, I know how much money I'm going to get today and how much money I'm going to get in 30 days, 45 days, 90 days, whatever it happens to be, well, now I can evaluate what I'm spending today based on the future value of that money, if that makes sense. So it's not I spent $1 and I made $1.25. It's I spent $1, and in the next 30 to 45 days, I'm going to get this money here, and maybe this money here. Now I can start to plan for future costs. I can start to plan for inventory. And when I focus the machine on doing just that job, it's going to get better at it. So I'm going to reach higher quality people more often for lower price. And more importantly, I can start to work on the business model around that offer to improve the second purchase rate, to improve the LTV, to improve the AOV, so that like my landing page tests continue to compound in value. My email flows continue to compound in value as I test them. My one-click upsells, all my offer construction, I can say, this is how I make money. I'm going to make this thing work better. I have other things that I sell, but this is what I'm spending my money on to grow the business, because I know with greater certainty than anything else how this is going to impact my bank account in the future. So that was a big shift. And to be fair, like the business wasn't that old when I came on board. I don't think there was a focus on that. And I also don't think there's enough volume to know what that looked like. Like if you're in business for 3 months, 6 months, you might not know what a 9-month cash flow projection looks like because you literally haven't been in business for that long. But I think that was point number one, was really figuring out if we're going to spend money to make money, what is the single best investment we can make so that we can start to centralize all of our efforts around that? And to be fair, I did the same thing with 310 Nutrition. We went from 18 million to like 100 million in 15, 20 months. I've done that over and over again. And I think that that's one of the biggest liabilities most performance marketers bring to the table. Like when you hire an ad agency that's trying a bunch of offers, like one of the biggest risks that they bring and why they destroy more clients than they help is because they're not focused on how the business's bank account looks. Like they're not looking at cash flow, and cash flow is the number one most important thing.
Now,
So I think,
I have a
yeah,
question there, because first of all, you mentioned that the business model has a lot to do with your success with Under Outfit, right?
sure.
So let's say that I'm a small business right now trying to grow. How will I go about the metrics that I have to know in order to put my business in a position to scale?
Yeah, I mean, the key metric that I look at when analyzing any business opportunity is a metric called profitable scaling margin, or PSM. And basically, it's what's the lifetime value of my customer divided by the sum of, or divided by this other equation, which is cost per acquisition, cost to produce the goods, and how often does somebody buy it. So for instance, if I know it costs me $10 to make a product and it costs me $40 to sell that product, and the average person buys 2.5 times, well, that's 10 plus 40, that's 50 times 2.5, that's $1.25. If I know that customer is worth $200, well, now I know every time I spend $125, I'm going to make $200, and I know when that future money is coming. Now, if I'm a young company, a lot of people say, well, I'm young, I don't have LTV, I don't know what it is. My response is, that's complete nonsense. If you want to know your LTV, it's really simple. What is your total revenue divided by your total customers? That's your total LTV. If you don't have a more sophisticated number than that, that's a completely accurate way of looking at things. And then you can just simply say, okay, great. Now, what product when somebody buys this product, what's the product that most likely lends itself to somebody buying a second time? If I start to sell that product, more than likely my future cash flow is going to look better, because a higher percentage of the money I spend today is not only going to bring me money back, but also going to bring more of its friends in the future. And I know when they're going to stop by and present themselves. So I can start to predict and project and plan for 20 days, 30 days, 40, 90, whatever it is. But I think that's the thing that most people need to start focusing on, even if you're brand new. If you have 3 products or 100, is if you look at that equation, that ultimately tells you how much more money could you spend per acquisition of a transaction in your business. And if it's 5% or it's 105%, now you have a very good idea of how much more money you could spend on an average basis. So say it's my PSM is a 1.1. I know I could spend 5% more tomorrow. And if I make 0 extra sales with that added spend, I'm still profitable. And odds are, if you spend an extra 5% every day, you're probably going to see at least 1 extra sale. And you'll get better and better at maximizing the volume of that opportunity. And for what it's worth, as you improve it, that number should get better and help you scale more. Like when we started, I think it was like a 1.3. And by the time it was at like 1 million, it was like over a 2. Like every dollar we spent was worth $2, which is just crazy.
Wow. That's super interesting. I want you to explain how, because you said that in order to get to this point, you need to identify this, let's call it a hero product,
Yeah.
is the most likely to get the second purchase in
Mhm.
that customer journey. So how,
Yeah.
I'm a brand right now listening to this, how will I go about identifying this product in my store?
Well, there are a lot of fancy pieces of software you can pay a lot of money for. There's Lifetimely. You can get somebody, great CPA, to analyze all of your receipts. That'll totally work. You want to do it for free. The easiest way is to take a look at the receipts. Like if you have WooCommerce or Shopify or something, you know that's a new customer versus a returning customer. Awesome. Let me identify all the people that are returning customers. Let me now isolate just what they bought on their first transaction. That could be like a CSV, just like a list. Let me put that into a word cloud. What's the biggest word? That's your most commonly selling product on a new customer that turns into a second purchase. I mean, hopefully it's not large or like red. Like you have to take some of those things out. You know what I mean? But in under outfits case, is it bra? Is it cami? Is it panties? Whatever it is, right? If it's a dog, is it, is it dog food? Is it a treat? Is it, peanut butter? Whatever it is, right? Done that with businesses over and over again. But that's something where like you could legitimately do that really, really fast. And now you're basically saying, of all the people that bought multiple times, what was the most common thing bought the first time? You don't need to be any good at math to understand that that's probably the best thing. That's the thing that most heavily indexes to a second purchase. So just start focusing on that. If you are a nerd and you've got more things, you can dive deeper. But like probably 80% of folks, that's probably the simplest way to get started.
Right. And I feel like there's so many brands that completely ignore what you're saying right now. And
100%.
not, and I think fashion brands specifically are the ones
Yeah.
that do it the most, right? So how, like, what will you do? What will you tell a fashion brand right now that is just starting out, or even, at a point where they're making 50K per month, and they feel like they need to advertise every single product in the store? Maybe they're not selling this product or this or that other product that they want to sell more, and they may be a little bit romantic about their products. What will you tell them in order to scale their brand?
Yeah, generally I would go in 2 ways. One, if they're really financially motivated, like if they're good with numbers, I'll say, all right, if we know looking at this number that this is the most commonly bought product that brings in a second purchase. Okay. And you're telling me you got a lot of products. Got it. Are you spending enough money right now that you're going to sell out of this number one product and you need to support a second one? Most often the answer to that is no. Like if you're making 50K a month, you're probably spending $500 to $1,000 a day. Maybe you're making 10, 15, 20 sales. So if you're making 300 to 500 sales of an item, do you not have the inventory to support that? I mean, if that's the case, that's another issue. But I think so many people avoid the fact that, like, they think they need to be focusing on new areas of opportunity, but they're not even taking advantage of the best opportunity that they have. So in that way, it's really easy to say, you have 2,000 of these in stock. Right now, you're selling 500 a month. That's your ad spend will support the sale of 500 to 600 a month. Why are you promoting anything else? Like, everything else you promote makes you lose money. So you're going to work harder to make less money to make sure the machine is dumber and add cost on warehousing and inventory. You're basically making sure that you are going the extra mile to make success far more difficult. That makes no sense. Like, that is, I get it from the owner's perspective of wanting to highlight everything, but from a numbers perspective, you don't have the luxury of needing to worry about that. From, if they're not numbers motivated, or if they're not like really hip to like Excel and finances and stuff like that, then a lot of what I try to tell folks is like, what is the brand? Like, how do you make money? Right? Like, what is the thing that makes this interesting? And the number one example I give, especially in apparel, is like, I tell people, you don't need to promote all of your offers to sell them. The Jordans make up a fraction, a very minuscule fraction of Nike's overall revenue, but they're probably the most commonly promoted offer because it gets you in the store. So what gets the right customer's attention to come into your store, and then let the store sell them everything else if it's not the thing that they want? And if you can start to focus around identity and building around that way, then brands start to become a brand. And when you have a brand, you can build a moat, and ultimately you get repeating customers. And generally, I find that looking at it in one of those two ways answers the question for like 85, 90% of people. There are a few folks that are incredibly insistent on doing more than that. But you don't need more than that to get to $1 million a month in revenue.
A
And
million.
if you're at 500, if you're at 50K a month, like, getting to $1 million is like game changing. And why make that any more difficult than it needs to be?
You know, I think I remember when I was working in an agency that one of my friends had a client. This is a true story. She had a client, and it was a fashion brand. The client was making around 100K per month, and they were growing.
Solid.
And I remember we will go over the ad account, and I was looking at the ads. I noticed that there was this ad that was absolutely crushing it, right? It was winning by far. And the ad was promoting a product that was completely sold out. And it was still the winning ad, even though they had not been selling that product for months already. And that was basically the ad that took people to the store to buy other products. And that is exactly
Yeah.
right.
Oh no, I love that. Like, I mean, I've run a Black Friday ad up until like March or May. Like, if it works, who cares? Like, what is advertising? And I feel like this is a question most people get wrong. Advertising is ultimately buying or earning attention that you can predictably monetize. Like, that's advertising. So this product sold out, but you're now in my store. Great. If I'm making money, who cares? Like, there's a typo. I don't care. We're sold out of it. Don't care. We stopped selling it 3 years ago. I don't care. Are we making money? Awesome. Let's solve another problem. Like, that's amazing. And I love that story. I'll bet you there's 1,000 accounts out of 1,001 where something like that is happening, where somebody just turned an ad off because somebody in the business said, oh, we can't support this, let's turn it off. And it was objectively better for the business than at least one other ad running in that ad account. And basically, by doing the right thing, they decided to make way less money. And if you're not thinking about it in numbers, if you're not thinking about it in money, then you're not thinking about it like a business owner. And you should be mindful of the business if you're a business owner.
And
Which,
not only, not only they're seeing the numbers, right? They're seeing that it's working. But what drives me crazy is that I will hear a lot of people being like, oh, but haven't you seen the comments? Yes, the comments may be saying it is sold out. We cannot buy this product, but still working a lot, right? It's still winning ad. It's still the reason why you're at 100K per month, right? For that.
Yeah.
And
when somebody says, have you seen the comments? I'm like, yeah. Have you seen the bank account? Done.
100%.
And like, if that's not a good enough answer, then I mean, I don't know what to tell you. But like, otherwise, you're just running ads to feel good about yourself. But ultimately, the reason you're investing money is to make a profit. Or you're just a charity. And hey, look, nothing wrong with charity, but don't be upset when your business goes out because you decided what we're going to do is waste a lot of money. Like that. Don't be surprised when things are hard.
Exactly.